Well, let's kick it off with our first guest on Bazaar this morning, Matt Orton, U.S. market strategist and chief market strategist at Raymond James Investment is with us. We also have, I think, Arvind Sanger now joining in, managing partner at Geosphere Capital Management. Gentlemen, great to have you. Matt is here with us in the studios. Arvind joins us all the way from the U.S. on the phone line. Matt, let me open with you. So we're gearing up for what could be an absolute bazooka of a Monday, given those exit poll results. But what do you make of market positioning? Because this is a market which is already at all-time highs.
Good morning. It's great to be here finally in person and meet everyone. And it's an exciting time to be here because the results are clearly showing that there's going to be policy continuity. I think that's what the market may have been reacting to with some of the volatility over the past few weeks. So getting that clarity moving forward, I think, is very important. And in particular, you're seeing a lot of the CapEx-related names, a lot of the infrastructure-related names making particularly large moves pre-market. And I think that's where I'm most optimistic about India right now, is on the infrastructure play. We've talked about that in the past, but I think it signals that there's a lot of opportunity moving ahead in that part of the market.
So just quickly, do you want to expand on that? Because you've liked some of these stocks in the past as well. And given the kind of cues that we have, which sectors or maybe one or two stock names, if you could share, where you really think the pop could be most felt?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in particular, when you look at the bounce and the moves that you're seeing in infrastructure, particularly related to road and rail, I think that's important. When you look at the companies that generally support power build-out, so Adani Power, Tata Power, I think all of that makes a lot of sense to look into. Larsen & Toubro is probably my favorite name in the space because of its broad exposure to the infrastructure theme. And even a name we've talked about a lot, which is in autos, Mahindra & Mahindra. They're not just exposed to the consumer and a lot of new product launches, but the Mahindra Group in totality has a lot of exposure to the India growth theme.
L&T and M&M.
Yeah, will FIs come back and I mean, they've been sellers, Matt. So that's a big sort of variable because locals are all buying. I mean, they've been pouring money into the market, but FIs have sat out and even sold. So will that turn, you think, or not really? What's your sense?
You know, Prashant, I think it will change. Heading into elections, a lot of people are always jittery on that front. But moving forward, we have clarity. And India, when you look at India relative to other global markets, outside of the U.S., India is the only consistent compounder over the long term. It outperforms almost every other market outside of the S&P 500, and that's a reason to own it. And when you look at the massive growth trajectory, positive demographics, and the fact that China is now encountering or really being reminded of the challenges that they have going forward, I think you'll see a rotation out of China, the fast money moving out of China and coming back to India. And I think that can be stickier now that we're through this event.
Okay. Arvind Sanger is also with us. Arvind, good morning from India. Great to have you with us here. Thanks very much for your time. So let's talk here and now. People who are watching this want to know, what should I buy? What should I buy this morning? You know, if it's going to be a broad-based move. Yesterday we had Ramdevji with us. He was saying that there is, Monday is going to be no time for analysis because it's all going to be, big rocket moves. Maybe that is true, but...
Well, I think the small and mid caps are certainly going to do well. They've been, rocket ships already, but I think risk on is on in full scale, and people either some of the FIs had sold down a little bit in advance of this, and investors had also shifted a little bit of money into large caps just to have a little bit lower risk profile. I think what you'll see is risk-seeking behavior more going up, and I think that's going to help. But as your previous speaker was saying, I think many of the things that have worked, and I would add to that, the financial sector is one that has been somewhat tepid. And I think if we are playing a medium to long-term theme on India growth, then the banks and the NBFCs, where RBI has been cautious, and I think it's a good thing that they've been cautious, but the reality is that you cannot have an India Inc. growth story without the financial sector also participating in the rally. So in addition to a number of the other sectors, I think financials will also benefit.
Okay, all right. Got that point, Arvind. And Matt, good to see you in the studio. I'll be looking forward to meeting up with you at the conference later today. But Matt, what is your view on the financials? Some of those large private sector names, they've actually virtually done nothing in the last 3 years or so. If you look at, Kotak Mahindra Bank, HDFC Bank, banks with very, very good pedigree. But in terms of performance, they've been lacking. Your view?
Yeah, great to see you, Nigel, and I'll see you in a couple of hours. And like Arvind was saying, financials do offer opportunity going forward. My favorite pick in this space is ICICI Bank. And I think their exposure, broadly speaking, to the infrastructure theme, they're well capitalized. They're going to be able to provide financing for increasing public-private partnerships. But what's also interesting about them playing on this India growth theme is the idea that they already have 150 billion or so private banking segment, and that's poised to grow going forward because of leadership and technology. So I really like them for growth, not only to supply infrastructure growth, but also growing to an increasing middle class in India and increasing wealth in the country.
Arvind, hi, morning. So the question on my mind really is whether this is going to be a 1 or 2 day event where you react to news and there's a pop and there's lots of excitement, or whether the magnitude of the win, if it turns out to be similar to what the polls are saying right now, if we are getting a number closer to the 400 mark, whether the magnitude of the win has a bearing on the market, whether it starts a fresh leg up above 23,000. So is it a here and now reaction and then we move on? Or is it going to start something new?
I don't know that the magnitude of the win by itself is, in my opinion at least, a huge factor. Whether the NDA gets, just to take the extremes, 350 or 400 or even 325, I think it's nice, but I don't think it's critical. I think the main important is continuity, and then does a larger majority mean more bold economic actions? And that's something that will only happen if we get statements from Prime Minister Modi saying that a larger majority emboldens him to do something more dramatic on the economic front. So that's, I think that will determine, and I'm not sure where that'll go, but, we're bullish on India medium and long term. And so, beyond this 1 or 2 day pop, there's a long story ahead. But I think if we got any bold new actions by the government that are unexpected or not in the current cards, that would be a positive. On the other hand, let's be honest, there's been some talk about increasing capital gains taxes. So let's keep in mind that there are things that could come out of a budget that could be negative. So who knows where all of that will go. But I think the magnitude of the win by itself doesn't dramatically change the picture. It's what they do with it and what they indicate they're going to do with it.
No point taken. Arvind, 1 or 2 names which you think are poised to do, what would you can leave us with that viewers could, beyond today, you buy something today when maybe this week, I think we're going to be up 1,000 points on the Nifty, maybe more.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. This morning, the GIFT Nifty is indicating a 700-point up move, but yeah, names.
Well, I would say the metals names, whether it's an Hindalco or Vedanta or some of the steel names, I think the steel infrastructure story is going to benefit. So I think we like the metal sector. We like some of the names, as I said, in the banks, whether it's an HDFC or a Kotak or an ICICI. I think those names, again, are a great growth story. So those would be some of the things I would highlight. And then, mid-caps, it's more niche specialty companies that we like. So, I don't want to pick names out of a hat, but I think the power sector, you could pick any of the companies that are, in the power financing business. Those could be big winners. I think power financing is going to be required in a big way, and that could be another big winner sector.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it there, gentlemen. Arvind, great to have you with us here. Thanks very much for your time. Matt, great to speak with you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Hope we can do this more often. Thank you
Yes.
for joining us. Well.